All right, we have a problem. This little guy right here, the Line 6 HX Stomp. You guys know I love this piece of gear. I've talked about it many times on the channel. This thing has an issue. It has a problem, and I'm gonna be honest. I haven't found the solution. Same is true not only with this little HX Stomp, but the HX Stomp XL and even the Helix for that matter. There is a problem, and I have not figured out the answer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell you what the problem is, then I'm gonna hook it all up and show you, let you hear for yourself what the problem is. And maybe some of you are smarter than me. Maybe you're like, Jimmy, here's the answer, and you just let me know down in the comments. Maybe I'll delete this stupid video. But right now, it's not stupid because there's a problem. You need to know about it. Okay, so you guys know that I love the HX Stomp because it's small and you can put this on a pedal board with other pedals. I love doing that. I have a pedal board right over here. I'm gonna show you in a second. It has several other pedals. I have the Jackson Audio Broken Arrow. I got a compressor. I have the Jet Revelation going into the effects loop, and that is where the problem is. See, one of the things you can do with delay and reverb, I'm just gonna go straight into it. Delay and reverb is that I like to put my delays before my reverbs. That way the delays feed into them and it sounds more natural. But sometimes you might want to separate the delay from the reverb, and you can do that in these units because not only do they have a stereo path, they have a dual stereo path. A stereo path A, path B, both stereo. It's not like taking a stereo path and splitting it. It's like taking two stereo paths and splitting it. So you can have stereo delays on the bottom and stereo reverb on the top. And one of the things we like to do sometimes in the world of effects pedals is to clean up things by putting something like delays on the bottom and reverbs on the top, or vice versa. It doesn't really matter. And that way you get the same amount of signal through both, but they're not really interacting. They're not really interacting with each other. And you might want to do this so that you have cleaner delay repeats. Okay, a lot of people do that, and that works fine until you want to use this with an analog pedal, a pedal that is not internal inside here. So I have this issue and I've never done this before. Normally, I run my Revelation just in series with all my effects. However, recently I was like, oh yeah, I wanna clean this up. The Revelation gets super ambient, so I might wanna pull that down on the B path and run my delays on the A path and clean it up a bit. But then there became the issue. You see, inside here is a stereo effects loop. You have to put in the stereo effects loop block, and that's what I've done. You come out of here TRS, and you can come out stereo and go back in stereo through whatever stereo effects. In this case today, it'll be the Jet Revelation. And all of that is fine until you drop it down on another path, where you leave all this digital world, you go into a real life pedal and you come back. I have found that what I think is the problem is that there becomes there's introduced a little bit of latency, just a little bit of latency. And what that does is it makes your signal sound weird. Not only does it like drop in volume a little bit, but it's weird sounding, and there's no solution. You can go to the output block and actually like invert, but maybe I should, let me draw a picture. All right, so I got my whiteboard out. Let me show you. What we're gonna do is we're gonna come out of this with a stereo TRS. Let's pretend this pedal right here is stereo, but it really doesn't matter, I don't think, for this, whether it's stereo or not. And we're gonna split and go into the Jet Revelation. This is actually the Mr. Black Eterna, but we're gonna pretend it's the Revelation. Then we're gonna come out the stereo into the effects loop here. So you understand what's going on. We're using the effects loop, but we're coming out. We were digital, everything's digital in here. We're coming out into the real world and we're going back in. So here, let me erase this. So let me show you what it's gonna look like inside. We have a stereo signal here, and then we're gonna split it. We're gonna drop off into path B, path B, path A. And then we're going to mix back together here. Boom, boom. I like to bring my delays down here. You can have some delays down there and put a reverb up here. And if it's all within the HX Stomp, it works great. You can have a real lush reverb up here and delays down here, and you can get the effect that we're looking for. I'll show you in a minute. But if this is an effects loop block, it is actually leaving. And like I said, I think a little bit of latency is introduced. So when we come back together right here, these signals aren't lining up exactly, and it causes some phasing issues. So what is phasing? Here's what I do know. You have a sound wave just like this. If you invert that sound wave, you can, let's see if I can do this. you can like phase a signal, and you flip it 180 degrees, it'll cancel each other out because you've taken the signal and flipped it. You've put it into phase or out of phase, you put it out of phase. But what's happening is we're not inverting this and it's canceling things out. Let's say this is our path A and path B. Wherever the effects loop block is and it's going into a real pedal, this just gets scoot down a little bit. So what I think is happening, instead of starting at the same location, is it's being delayed a little bit. It has a little bit of latency, and it's going like this and ending at the wrong spot. That way when it comes out, we have this phasing issue. And in the HX Stomp mixer block, like I said, you can flip, you can invert the phase, but it doesn't matter because they're still just off a little bit from each other. So that's what I think is happening. Let's plug it up and listen and see if you can hear what I'm talking about. All right, we're plugged up. We have some signal. There's the pedal board. You can see it. I'm actually playing through my telly today. I kind of did like another setup. I tried it myself and I made it a little bit better because last time I had it set up, it was the action was a little too low and it's fuzzing, but I like this. And I also haven't played any single coils because a lot of this metal around here introduces some like noises. Anyways, we're getting off topic. Here is my preset. It's the HWL Tone Match Blues Junior preset. Sounds pretty good. I like it. I've been using it a lot lately. All right, so what we have here is I have just my normal preset, but right here I have a more ambient dynamic plate. Let's see what that sounds like. Nice long tail. .6 decay on there. The mix is really high, 46. Probably way too wet from what you would do, but maybe this is what we want in the worship world. So I have some delays here. We have a simple delay set up like this with a pretty high mix. Actually, let's go ahead and turn the delay, the reverb off. Have a vintage digital right here set up like this with dotted 8. So with our effects in series like this, if I turn on the reverb, those delay repeats are going to go into the reverb, and every delay repeat will have that reverb applied to it, which is what most people do. This is not a hard, fast rule. Some people like it after. That's fine. But it makes it sound the most natural because you're getting that reverb introduced into your repeats, and it sounds natural. But it also makes your repeats less noticeable. So let's see it with reverb and without. You hear more definition because it's not being all swallowed up by the reverb. So what we can do is we have a quarter and a dotted eighth. You know, if you want to do a dual delay situation, which I like doing. There's a lot of repeats bouncing off each other, and it's going great. Now, if we introduce that reverb is going to take all those repeats and apply reverb to them, and so it gets kind of messy, kind of marbled up. Marbled? I don't know. So then what you're going to want to do is start bringing down the mix, and that's fine. That's what I always do. The delay is still back there, and the reverb is still back there, but it's not so bad. But what if we want to keep our reverb really lush like that? We just don't want all those repeats to have all those problems. Well, we're going to drag this down on the stereo B path. We're going to move our split block up and our merge block right here. I'm just going to leave everything like it is, so our signal is coming in 100%, and it's just being split into the two different effects here. So we should notice, let me bring the mix back up, a lot of reverb still, but the repeats will be separate. So I'm going to turn the dotted eighth delay off so we can just hear the quarter. Let's hear the quarter without the reverb. Now with the reverb. So you'll notice that the reverb is applied to the dry signal only and not the reverb repeats. It helps keep those delay repeats nice and clean. And that's great if you want to use the reverbs that are in the Stomp, but I love my Jet Revelation. So I want to do that same thing with my Jet Revelation. Now here's the problem. As soon as I scoot this and bring this down here, we have now introduced a problem. So what I'm going to do in order to show you this, I'm going to turn all the effects off. Even this effects loop, it's off right now. And we have just all of our signal going through all these blocks with no processing, and we should be fine because there's nothing happening. Just as if this was on this side. But listen to what happens as soon as the reverb, the Jet Revelation is not even on. I'm just engaging the stereo effects loop. So signal is still going through the revelation, but it's not being, there's no reverb being applied to it. You hear that? It sounds terrible. It's like this weird whoa kind of off, on. I don't like that. That's an issue. Okay, Jimmy, what can we do? Well, there's nothing we can do here at the the split block, but over here at the merge block, they're like, oh, you can invert this, and it does change it. It inverts it, but if you remember my picture, I think it's just scooted over a little bit. So when you invert, it's the opposite effect, but still bad. Does that make sense? So let's go back to normal real quick. It changed, still bad. So because there's this latency, I think one solution that you could do is make sure that one of these delay blocks up here is at 100% mix. Let's try that. Now, once you get all the effects going, you don't really hear the difference, but your bass tone is still this weird, and you don't want that. That sounds horrible. What we want is our full signal coming through. So let's put the delay on. Now this delay is at 100% mix. Now I do think there's another issue going on. I think I watched this in another video that when you do use like a split block, it kind of like messes with the volume a little bit because it's trying to split and not add too much volume, so they take away some, but sometimes there can be some volume loss on one of the paths or both, so you can just adjust that here if you want. So let's just bump that up a little bit. But here we go. Okay, that doesn't sound weird. Now let's put the effects loop on. Okay, that didn't sound that bad, right? Turn this effect off though. Back to the weird sound. So you can, as long as you have a delay on all the time at 100%, that kind of fixes it, but that introduces some new problems. First of all, if you want to turn your delay off, you can't. I don't like that. I want to be able to turn stuff off if I want. The second thing is if you have two different delays, it messes with how quickly your delays come in. It's not normal. So you'll hear that the dotted eighth will come later, like too late for me. So if I want to do a dotted eighth, like it eventually got there, but it's like digga 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 digga, and it does. I don't like it. Let me just hit it, and you can see how late it comes in. It like waits till the second repeat to come in, and that would throw me off. I'm trying to do a part live where I have to like wait for it. Like I say, once it's in, it's in. That's fine. Here's what the revelation actually sounds like. So that sounds great. That's what I wanted. That's the sound I want, but I have that issue of that delayed delay. I don't like that. And so if I were to, let's say, turn this delay off, this one here is still only at 48%. I'm introduced to that weird phasing issue. I have to turn the delay mix up to 100. And then when I do, I get a delayed delay. You can hear it went away. The bad noise went away. And if it's one delay and that's all you're using, that's fine. But as soon as you put another one in there, you hear that? You hear how bad that delayed? I don't like that. That's not good enough for me. We need a fix. We need something to fix this. Do you agree? Let me know down in the comments. I have even changed the order. So like this one, let's just say the second one is 46, the dotted eighth one. Well, what if I switch the order of these effects right here? So now the last delay is at 100% mix, but not the first one. Well, then the quarter is delayed. No, it's still the same. It's just, and if you put them both at 100, the delay is worse. The delay of the delay is worse. That can't be right. It can't be right. So you're gonna wanna start bringing this mix down, and as soon as you do, your delays work fine, but you're introduced now to that bad, weird sound. Ew. So right now I'm just forced to move this up on this other path here, and then it's fine. Well, if you do that, you have to make sure your mixes are down. Get rid of the whole parallel thing. Or I could try to put my reverb before my delays. And that doesn't sound too bad, but what do you think? I don't think there's a solution within the Stomp that will fix this. Now, I think there are some solutions that may happen outside of the Stomp that some people might be working on to fix this, but right now, this is a problem, and I want it fixed now. All right, thank you guys for watching this video. Hey, this video is sponsored by myself. You know, I don't have a sponsor, but if you want to help support the channel, check out the EXPANSE pack for all the Line 6 devices, all the newer ones, the Helix, HX Stomps, and the Pod Go. Plus I have some tone match presets. Also some other things like a digital worship planner and ambient worship pads, just everything that you could possibly want. Go check it out. I'll link all that down below. Thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.